The shadows that lurk behind the curtains of my neighbor's house always gave me an uneasy feeling. Mr. Reynolds, our new neighbor, had moved in just a few weeks ago, but something about him seemed off from the very beginning. It wasn't just his haggard appearance or the way he rarely spoke to anyone in the neighborhood. No, it was the sinister aura that clung to him like a shroud. My first encounter with Mr. Reynolds occurred on a gloomy, rain-soaked evening. I was coming home from work when I spotted him standing on his porch, his eyes fixed on me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. His thin lips twisted into a sinister smile as I rushed inside, slamming the door shut behind me. I couldn't shake the feeling that those eyes had seen things best left forgotten. As the days turned into weeks, my unease only deepened. It seemed like Mr. Reynolds never left his house during the day. The curtains were always drawn tight, and his presence was only truly felt at night. Strange noises emanated from his home, eerie whispers and the occasional blood-curdling scream. I tried to dismiss them as figments of my imagination, but they haunted my dreams, leaving me sleep-deprived and on edge. One particularly unsettling night, I peered through my bedroom window, unable to resist the urge to investigate further. The moon was obscured by thick clouds, casting an eerie pallor over the neighborhood. A flicker of movement caught my eye, and I saw Mr. Reynolds standing in his yard, his head tilted back as if he were howling at the moon. But there was no sound, just the unnerving sight of a man silently screaming to the night sky. I couldn't ignore the signs any longer. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to dig deeper into Mr. Reynolds's mysterious past. A visit to the local library yielded some disturbing information. It turned out that Mr. Reynolds had lived in this town before, years ago. He had been accused of a series of unsolved murders, but there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. He had disappeared from town shortly after, only to resurface now, living right next door to me. Fear gnawed at me as I realized the truth. I was living next to a possible serial killer. My heart raced as I considered my options. Should I call the police? But what if they couldn't find any evidence again? No, I needed to uncover the truth myself. The next night, I waited in the darkness, watching as Mr. Reynolds emerged from his house. He moved stealthily, as if he knew he was being watched. I followed him at a safe distance, my heart pounding with every step. He led me deep into the woods behind our houses, where an abandoned shack stood, hidden from prying eyes. As I peered through the cracked wooden door, I was greeted by a gruesome sight. The shack was filled with photographs, newspaper clippings, and other mementos of his past crimes. I felt bile rise in my throat as I realized the extent of his depravity. He had been a killer, and now he was back, continuing his reign of terror. Suddenly, the night air grew cold, and I heard a sinister whisper in my ear, as if it was carried on the wind. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed. I spun around, but there was no one there. My heart raced as I stumbled backward, my eyes darting around in the darkness. It was then that I saw the shadows moving, shifting and coalescing into sinister shapes. The shadows seemed to come alive, reaching out for me with ghostly hands. I screamed and turned to run, but I tripped over a root and fell to the ground. As the shadows closed in, I felt their icy touch, like 1,000 cold fingers crawling up my skin. I struggled to get up, but it was as if an invisible force held me down. In the distance, I could hear Mr. Reynolds' haunting laughter, echoing through the night. He had led me into this trap, and I was now at his mercy. The shadows tightened their grip, and I could feel them suffocating me, draining the life out of me. I gasped for breath, my vision growing dark. And then, just when I thought all was lost, the first rays of dawn pierced the darkness. The shadows recoiled, and I felt their hold loosen. With every ounce of strength left in me, I crawled away from the shack, stumbling back towards the safety of my home. I never saw Mr. Reynolds again after that night. He vanished without a trace, just as mysteriously as he had appeared. The police searched his house, but found nothing to incriminate him. The nightmares haunted me for years, but I never spoke of what I had witnessed in those woods. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that Mr. Reynolds is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for his next victim. And every night, as I draw the curtains tight and lock the doors, I can't help but wonder if the darkness that surrounds us is just a veil for the true horrors that lie within our neighbors' souls.